Hello everyone, good morning. I hope you are all well. I'm Renato from Shedmate, and here we will start our third episode of this webinar series 2026. So I'm really glad to be here. Today we will have two team members join us today, and it will be Artur that you have already met in the last webinar, and now we will be joined with us Rafael, that's our lead developer. So we will be talking about our new update, improvement on bill of materials that we had, and we will discuss a little some topics that will help you to streamline your process and to help you to get more leads and more specific details in your project. Okay, so yeah, let's start, and I will change to our guests today. So hi everyone, how are you doing? Hi Rafael, thanks for joining us today. Hi Artur again. So yeah, let's start this. Do you want to present yourself?
Yep. Hi, everyone. My name is Rafael. I'm the lead developer here at Shedmate for, I think, almost 7 years now. So, pretty old guy in the house. And yeah, I'm very excited to show this latest improvement that we've done on the instant quoting module, allowing for a more detailed bill of materials. And yeah, we'll get into all of that in a second. So, yeah, Arthur, do you want to say anything?
Yes. Hi, everyone. Excited for another Shedmate episode here. Thanks for joining us, Rafael. And just a bit of context about this. So the main goal of this Q&A here is to answer questions as they show up during the week. Or if you have any question, if you are participating here, if you're watching this later, just put in the comments on our YouTube channel, and we're gonna get back to them on the next episode. That's what we're doing. And in this week, something interesting happened. So I was in visit to one of our clients, and they mentioned something that the bill of material that we have doesn't work in the way they buy it. And I was like, oh, how come? I was curious about it, and they said, no, our suppliers, they use different lengths. We do have some adjustments we're doing in house, and for this reason we don't use fully the Shedmate bill of material. And I was like, okay, we have something coming. And I spoke with Rafael. Rafael did a great job there. And then we have a system that pretty much allows you to customize your bill of materials in the way that you calculate. So it's a bill of materials that fits the way your business orders. And it does this by breaking down every item on our pricing calculation. We're gonna go through it, and some people, Rafael, might not be fully aware of the pricing calculations and how they all work. Just be aware when presenting it. So you're gonna see that Shedmate will allow you to do those minor details if you want, that's custom to your company. Okay, and in terms of who this content is for, I think it applies for both segments of our business, not only the structural steel customers, but also the code formed. And when talking about ordering and bill of materials, I'd like to mention and clarify a few aspects of it. Generally speaking, when you're doing web trusses, universal beams, and all of that, every company will have different connections. And these connections, they're kind of part of the bill of materials. So we generally advise a good workflow to be done in Tekla or Advanced Steel. So you do your whole design in Shedmate, you sell the shed, and then you can export to Tekla, Advanced Steel, and those systems to actually implement those connections and have customers doing this successfully over the last few years. And because Tekla is a system specific for it, you can export all of the bill of materials for those connections there. However, you can still use Shedmate's bill of materials for many other purposes. So, for example, if you want to export your cladding, if you want to export your openings, roller doors, sectional doors, all of that will be itemized in a very organized way in the way that you set up your business. So that's the side of the structural steel. On the other side, you have the code formed, and in the code formed, you have some different customers segments as well. One of them uses just brackets, and if you use brackets, you probably buy engineering directly from Shedmate, our engineering services, and the bracket system will do the punching and all of the details, so you can order this as well. We actually rolling out a lot of new updates on the bracket system that it's going to support a lot more different chat types, which is another great advancement. And also in that specific segment of the code form using C frames, we have companies doing welded connections. And in some of these companies, we have developed a specific plugin in Tekla, for example, that they export from Shedmate directly to Tekla. They run all of the connections very quickly in Tekla, and they export everything that they need there. So you might be in a different workflow, but no matter the workflow that you are in, no matter if it's code formed or structural steel, if it's welded or bracket, the new bill of material can be of a great service for your company and how you do things. Okay. Also pointing that everything that we do here is to help customers in two ways. One is double their sales profitably without new hires and franchising strings. And I say profitably with this kind of a highlight to the word, because there's a lot of back and forth if you're running double systems to do your ordering. And if you streamline everything to what probably going to present here and what's coming in the future, we're working on also an improved ordering system for you. Then you're going to reduce a lot of that back and forth and reduce like mistakes made when ordering materials. Renato can comment as well. Renato has experience ordering sheds, right, Renato? You worked in a company ordering sheds in the past. So I think your insights are valuable as Rafael and myself kind of discuss here this new feature, focus on that customer problem that we see happening, that the way they buy doesn't necessarily match. Now you can do that. Now you can match the bill of materials to how you buy things. And then, as Renato discussed, like the main goal here for us is to discuss the challenges that you face during the week, and the benefits of this is pretty much showing that there are some real problems out there, and we're tackling those real problems with real companies. We are refining everything, and we're listening to you. So it's very important that you participate as well, and you get involved here with your team, be it live and we know that live is busy. Sometimes you are answering customers right now while we're live, but just watch later and leave your comments below, and we're gonna include your kind of part of the conversation in the future sessions as well. Rafael, did I miss anything, or would you like to maybe start and give us a kind of overview of the new material system, and mainly around that, as I said, the pain point of, hey, before was a little bit tricky to actually customize things in the way I want, and now they can do it. And just another like 2 cents here. The other benefit for you as a business using the bill of materials is because once you learn it, you don't depend on anyone. You don't need to depend on like Rafael to say, hey, Rafael, can you make this change on the bill of materials? No, you can actually go there and do it yourself. Anyone in your team can do it. You can save as a new database, and that's going to be applicable for every project. So you don't depend on development. You don't have to pay for custom development. You make the change, you save it as a new version, and that's the business intelligence for how you quote and order sheds. If there is anything kind of missing, let me know here, Rafael, and we go from there. But I'll probably pass the ball to you and allow you to show a little bit of the system, and I might comment as we go as well, depending on the experience that we're having here with some of our existing customers.
Okay, let's go. Let me start by sharing my screen and giving a little bit of context on the system as a whole. So I'm sure most of you are familiar with the instant quoting module. We have a very powerful quotation tool that allows you to create and manage items and quantify them in real time, right? But just to give a little bit of context, if someone doesn't fully understand the system yet, basically we divided into 2 different sections. The pricing database, this is where you create your pricing items, set up the prices for them, the ERP code. And we also have the pricing calculations, which is where you set up the actual quantification of each item, right? So I have here, for instance, let me search for a C profile here. So here on the pricing database, we have all the different options of C profiles with the prices and everything. But then when I go to my pricing calculation and search for C, this is where the actual calculation is happening, right? So for instance, for C110, we have 48 meters, and we can set up how Shedmate will calculate this item. On this case, it's pretty basic. It's just getting all the elements on the shed with the profile name C110, right?
Yeah. Rafael,
And
yeah, may I just, add something to it. There was another question. I was running an onboarding session with a customer this week,
uh-huh.
and his question was like, what's the difference of the pricing database and pricing calculation? And a good way to explain to him is like the pricing database is pretty much how much you pay for each of the items. For example,
Yep.
RHS 100 or C 110. However, the pricing calculation is going to be all of the calculations that that item is involved. So the same C110 could be used for a fascia, could be used for like a column, could be used for a rafter, and RHS frame could be used for like a carport post, but also could be used for like a sliding door panel. So it's like the calculation that groups all of those different items together, and also the customization of that calculation. If you want to say, I want to add 10% more of the volume of concrete that Shedmate is calculating for me, all of that happens on the pricing calculations. The pricing database is where you pretty much change the price you pay for those materials. So I hope that kind of clarifies as well, because that was a good way for him to have a better understanding of it. I know some of you here are experts already on this system, but just giving those additional 2 cents for those who are just starting up.
Awesome. So pretty much our bill of materials here inside the quoting module before was somewhat limited. You couldn't see the actual sub items of each calculation. You couldn't change the unit. For instance, here we are charging the C profiles by the linear meter. But for instance, if you for some reason wanted to know the weight of the material, you couldn't do that. But now you can do that with this new bill of materials. And to get started on the feature itself, you will notice that now the items have this little icon, meaning that they can be expanded. And if I click on that, it will show all of these sub items for that specific calculation. So on this case for C100, we have fascias here. So we have 4 fascias with 6.1 meters length. And also we have the weight, and you can check the weight of each element, and you can also export this to Excel, right? If I get another example here, C119, these are the roller door studs. So basically the idea of this improvement was to give more customization to the user, but also more clarity of what is being calculated, what are the items that are being calculated, and display that in a way that it's easy to understand, and also make changes if you need, right? Um, and what I mentioned before, maybe the unit that you use to charge the customer is not the unit that you want to see at the end of the day. And here is an example. By default, the bill of material is showing the length in millimeters, right? But we are charging by the linear meter. And we can also customize these units to whatever you like. And you only need to do this once. You can save the database, and then on a new shed that you're quoting, these units will be remembered, right? So how to do that? We have a tab here at the top called Calculation Settings. You can open that up. And now we have this entire session here called Bill of Material Unit Settings, right? And here you have each type of units: length, area, volume, mass, width, and height, and you can change that. So for instance, let's say if I really want to have my length being displayed in meters, I just need to select that, and it's all done. Let's say if I want to change my mass to grams instead of kilos, we can do that as well. And I just need to go back to my main tab with the pricing calculations, and I'm going to search for C again. And now when I open this up, you'll see that we have the length in meters and the mass in grams. So it updates automatically, and you can then use this to export to Excel, for instance. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to sort by quantity. and I'm going to select all of the C profiles here. And at the top right corner, we have this option, Export Quoting Bill of Materials. I'm going to click on that, and I'm going to export only the selected for now. Click Export. We have a new Excel file. I can just open that up. And now we have our bill of materials for the C profiles here. And as you can see, we have the calculation name. It's easier for you to see what's the actual calculation that you're seeing. We have the sub-item. On this case, we have different C profiles here. We have the subcategory, so you know where they're being used. So for instance, fascias, roller door headers, studs, columns, rafters, and also quantity and the measurement, the length and the mass, right? And this will allow you, for instance, to generate weight reports. And the way that this Excel file works is that these columns for the measurements here, they are dynamically changed. So depending on the items that you're exporting, you'll see different columns here, just with the information that that specific item have, right? So yeah, do you have anything to comment so far, guys?
Um, I do have a comment. It's not necessarily related to the bill of materials, but also another question that I received regarding to roundings. When you were there on the calculation settings, there's a little button. So if you can just go back, Rafael, we
Yep.
don't need to fully demonstrate. But the question was, for example, Shedmate is very precise, right? So it's gonna give you a pricing as we have like 117,552.54, and some customers they say, I don't like to kind of give a quote to customer with this. And then if all you need to do is like go to calculation settings there where Rafael was before, and then select the roundings, and you can configure this to round up those values, and they look like nice and tidy on the final document. That's one of the things. The other thing that just as a personal preference, what I like to do every time that I open Shedmate is first thing that I do is I go sort by totals, Rafael. If you can show it, how to do it there, during the property processes.
Price totals, right?
Oh, sorry, I lost you guys for a while here.
Oh, I'm here.
I'm back. Sorry. Yeah. So yeah, if sort by price.
Price
So if you
total.
remove the C search there, so when
Yep.
you sort by price, you can see from the more expensive to the least expensive items, and you can see all of those different items there. For example, trim deck, Zeds, and everything that's included, and you can see that all of them has this drop down now that Rafael mentioned, so you can easily go and inspect and see okay what's actually being calculated. So I think this is an amazing feature because it allows you to have that inspection of the items you buy. And one thing that we generally do when you're ordering is, hey, you want to ensure that what we are quoting and what we are ordering matches the price we gave to the customer, because it's very, very common that sometimes you have price rises, there are things that happen and you don't know exactly, what that quote is including and how much you actually, is spending. And with this new tool, you can actually do that inspection if you want to have a higher level of project management in your business. So, for example, if you ordered your steel for a specific supplier and that was like in Shedmate was like, let's say, $7,500, and then you got an invoice that's like $9,000. You're like, hey, what's going on here? So sometimes they might be using a different pricing that wasn't the price you actually put in Shedmate. They might be overcharging you. So it's a way for you to actually fine tune as well what you're ordering and what invoices you're getting from those suppliers, if you want to get to that level of discussion. I remember we did something similar, Renato, when you were quoting. We had kind of a Monday board set up that was we were organizing all of the quoting for each supplier. And this here gives us that ability to come back and check any project what we actually asked for the customer in terms of for the suppliers in the ordering process. So lots of different benefits I see here.
Yeah, I just want to expand a little bit on the roundings that you mentioned, because it's a very cool thing. Let me go back to the C profiles here, and I will open up this C119. And here we have an option, as you can see, those three little dots. When you click on that, we open a window called Property Processors. This is how we're
Mhm.
calling it. And this is basically a way for you to set up different rules on how the material needs to be quantified, right? And we have, for instance, a restriction to the minimum value, maximum value, and we also have steps, meaning like, for instance, this example for SHS and RHS roundings, these are the lengths that they're available, right, in the market. So you can set that up, and then Shedmate will obey this rule when quantifying the materials, and you will see that on the bill of materials as well. So I'm just going to use this example here just to
Yeah.
exemplify.
I can comment more on that one, Rafael. That would be actually better on in RHS, but the principle is the same here.
Yeah.
And I'll give you an example that happened with
Mhm.
one of our customers in terms of Cs. So they sold a shed, and for some reason that was really wrong, the wrong size. That was before Shedmate, and then they had like these sheds sitting in their backyard with a specific frame. So if you want to reuse that, then you could use something like this. Hey, I want to quote the shed, but my specific frame there is like 5 meters long, and then Shedmates kind of round up to that one. But as Rafael was saying, it's very common for the RHSs that you don't buy this specific length. You buy that in, let's say, 3 meters, 6 meters, 8 meters, depending on supplier and region you are in. And then Shedmate allows you to do that. So if your shed is like 2.2 meters high, Shedmate is going to consider 3 as the RHS because that's what you need to buy. You don't buy 2.2. So that's what this is for. But yeah, go ahead. I just wanted to give those additional examples of
Yeah.
things that happen.
No worries at all. And as you can see here, I selected the rounding, and one of these steps is 6 meters. And now all of these C's here are rounded to 6 meters. So there's a lot of customization involved, right? And
Hmm.
yeah, another thing that I would like to show is, let me get an example of boats here, maybe. Yeah, boats. Boats is a thing that varies a lot between company to company, right? And the way that this update is working, and also the instant quoting module itself, you're able to customize whatever you want, and not necessarily boats, right? We have a differentiation that we call primary and secondary calculation types. Is a little bit complex, but Artur has a really good course on instant quoting that I recommend you guys checking out. But
Yeah, I
basically, uh,
let me comment on that one because it
uh-huh,
it generally is a source of like questions, like what's
yeah,
this? But it pretty much primary items are those physical items. So you get,
yep,
for example, um, a roof. So that's a physical item. We have a cladding. So cladding is a primary item we need to quantify. The secondary item could be, for example, the roof labor. So we're still using the roof area, the roof like property and geometry to calculate the roof labor, but it's not a physical item. So that's what we could call it the secondary item. And this example here for the purling boats, because we're still in a quoting stage here. That's the quoting BOM. We won't have all of the boats, as Rafael said. Every company do a kind of something different there. Some companies will say, "Hey, look, every time I order, I get one additional purling boat per connection, just in case whatever happens." So if that's the case, we're using the column to actually quantify, for example, how many boats we are having, but we quantify an item that's a secondary into the main one. So that's another way to see primary and secondary items. But yeah, go ahead. I hope that clarifies a little bit. But one is kind of the physical item. The other one can be dependent from the first one.
yep, exactly. Awesome. So we can also have the bill of materials for these secondary items. It's a little bit more simpler, but we have the information. So we have the subcategory being a secondary item. We have the information of how this item is being quantified in charge, and then we have the quantity for that. And this allows the user to visualize a lot of different scenarios that might be specific for your company. So, for instance, boats as an example, you can quantify the individual boats, but you may also want to quantify by the box, right? And this is possible with changes to the variables and formulas. You can define um, a formula for the amount of boats in a box, and you quantify the boxes, right? Another example is insulation. Instead of quantifying by the linear meter or area, you can quantify by the rolls. And then you'll have all of this information being displayed, and you can export that to Excel as well.
Yeah, awesome. Rafael, two things I'd like you to do. If you can, on the same purling bolts item, if you can click on those 12 items there, I think there's a good way to actually show that primary and
Yes.
secondary. So kind of the primary items would be those specific bracings, and we have 12 of those. However, we have a specific amount of purling bolts per each one of those bracings, and that's the formula that is calculating that. I think it's 3, isn't it? Is that 36? We've got 36 purling bolts if you click out. Yeah, 36. So pretty much we have like 3 per each. And if you actually open the pricing calculation for these purling bolts, you can you can see exactly what Shedmate's doing there. So we just copied the same roof bracing 3 times. But let's say that, hey, my company, I wanted to do it 4 times. All I have to do is copy one of those roofs another time, and then Shedmate's going to calculate that roof bracing 4 times, and that's what's doing. It's just multiplying that by 3 or 4. So here's when every company can be a bit different. So this is an example using a very basic calculation. We're just copying those roofs, but you could use actually a formula there, just like we have in Excel, saying, hey, I want to get, the number of columns. I want to multiply that by 3, and I want to, remove something specifically. So like the sky's the limit here, guys. You can really do anything in terms of these calculations using any Shedmate parameters that we have for a shed. And we have a lot of different parameters. Like I'm talking about thousands of different parameters you could use for it. But yeah, so like Rafael, if you just if you can change that to instead of formula there, can you click on formula?
I was doing that while you were talking. So basically, instead of duplicating the same condition 3 times, what you can do is have only once the roof bracings here, and then specify formula and just put a 3. Shedmate will know that it needs to multiply the quantity by 3. So now you have 24 here. And then we could do the same for the wall bracings.
Yep.
Is that what you wanted to show?
Yes, but something else I'd like to show there, if you just, it would be good to get another example there. So maybe the purling bolts for base column, or just click on any of those and see if I have like an actual formula on the bottom there, on the middle of the. You see. No. Maybe the purling bolts for base column. Yep, up. You just press it.
Yep.
That's another example. Yeah. So here, what we're doing is we're just using a different way to calculate it. But if you click on that formula, Rafael, that's what I want to show. That can be extremely flexible. So now it's actually triggering a variable, and if you actually just find that variable is all the way to the end.
I can
click again. Open the variable.
Yeah, I can open that up.
Search it. That's good.
It's purling formula for purling bolts. Purling bolts for column base connection.
Edit formula. I'd like you to click on edit formula.
There you go.
Yes, as you can see now, it's a different thing. So it's actually getting the column framings, and if it's a C frame, then I want to use 4, and it's multiplying that by different things. So if you go there on find variable, here's where you can actually search for anything that Shedmate has on the back. I might be saying the wrong terminology here, but the back end in all of the database of the shed you're building. So if you type there like rafter, or if you type like column, or if you type anything, Shedmate is going to show all of the variables you could use in your formulas here to calculate anything. So you could use this for example, every time I have a C-frame column, I want to create a formula that's going to quantify the base plate bolts or dyna bolts or whatever. So this is a very flexible and powerful way to calculate anything you want in your shed using these formulas at like linked to variables that you can inspect at any point in time. So I just want to show these more advanced areas. We generally go to a few of those on the one-to-one onboardings when clients are setting up some more complex formulas and things. But I wanted to give that clarity here that it's possible to use all of these complex formulas to calculate anything in the bill of materials as well.
Yeah. And just to exemplify the list of available properties that we have, you can see the tiny scroll bar here. This goes on and on and on. So you have a lot of options to create your formulas, and then you can search them here, and it makes things easier.
Yes, and in saying that, Rafael, I also wanted to pinpoint that most of the heavy lifting when someone is onboarding in Shedmate was already done for you. So what Rafael is showing there is a master template that every new customer gets access to it. So it already has a lot of the pre-populated information that we did that was used to all the sheds in the past. So we kind of copy those rules there. So we already have all of that built in for you. All of the complexity we're showing here about those variables, about formulas, about doing different things, is if you want to actually customize to a higher level, like higher degree for your specific business. So that's totally possible. So you can customize your bill of materials, but you don't have to do everything when you're starting out. And that's very important to mention. I always go back to that ABC curve with my customers when on their pricing, because sometimes they want to quantify everything. And I always tell them, hey, you need to quantify the 80%, the 20% of items that represent 80% of your material. That's first. So we're talking about cladding, we're talking about frames, and this comes out by default quantified by Shedmate. And then you could put like a markup for those, let's say 10% of items that you are still not sure how to fully quantify them, so the little bolts. So if you just scroll down there, Rafael, on the price total, just go to the bottom, and you're going to see a lot of those items there. For example, we have many items there like roller door mullion head bracket. It's like $8. And you have like mullion base connections, like 5.8. So sometimes if you're actually focusing on those items in the first week, I'll tell you, you're wrong. Don't do that, because you're going to spend a lot of time. You're not going to go to market with this. You're not going to start selling sheds because something is like $6 and you're not quantifying it perfectly. And believe me, it's very common, specifically for more technical people when they're setting this up. They're like, no, I don't want to be perfect. It's like, you don't have to be perfect. You need to worry about what's up. So scroll up again, Rafael, scroll up. So this is what you need to worry about. You need to worry about your erection fees, your concrete for slabs, your roof label, concrete slab and apron, like Z pricing, trim deck, corrugated, insulation, reinforcement. This is what actually is the bulk of price. This is what's going to make or break your deal and your business. And if you focus on those, you can actually refine the other ones. And as in the last webinar, I think I mentioned it, the goal here is not to be lazy. I'm not saying for you that you shouldn't be working on those minor items. I'm just saying that you shouldn't be doing that on the first week. Okay, so when you're setting up, when you're implementing, your goal is to launch this, go to market, start selling sheds. And then with time, then you can refine everything in your business, but focus on what matters first. That's like the advice that we see that works well for companies using Shedmate successfully and with a smooth onboarding process.
Totally.
Awesome. Renato, is there anything you'd like to kind of comment based on your experience ordering sheds as well on this new feature? Something you haven't showed, Rafael, maybe Renato can comment after this, but if you could just export a full list of quoting BOM for the shed, we can see a little bit of how it looks like. And just a second there, you can see there are many items that in this quoting BOM we're ignoring. For example, admin, erection, fabrication, council fees. That's just because they're not physical materials. But if you want to include that, you can actually remove those ignore, and then you're going to get the kind of breakdown of how they were quantified, like your fabrication costs, council fees, and that might be useful for other purposes, not necessarily ordering the shed or sending to the manufacturing floor, but for general business organization and understanding your costs, understanding what can be improved with time and what makes that ballpark of your pricing. But yeah, that's just an example that you can export the whole shed to Excel. And then my question that I always bring to customers is, when was the last time that you could see exactly how much you spend in every single item of your shed. Sometimes we keep going, you keep selling, you keep ordering, but we don't necessarily have that transparency and that auditability to open each shed and go and say, yep, I spent $8.4 on concrete slab and apron labor. So this gives you as a business owner a lot of insights about what's actually costing you more money and where you could be kind of making a better margin. And that's when that direction we gave here at the beginning, W Shed says profitably, becomes very important with this, because this is where your profitability lies. Like if you can manage this data well, and exporting to Excel is a good way to do many different analysis. But if you can and assess this data in a great way, you can see where the money is, and you can improve your business profitability as well. But yeah, Rafael, sorry to interrupt, just bringing those business insights. I'll let you demonstrate the exporting tool now.
Yeah, no worries at all. I exported here the full list with these ignored sessions that Arthur mentioned. And here is the file. We have
Oh,
a lot
wait,
of
I'm not
data.
seeing that, Rafael. I'm still
Oh,
seeing my Shedmate.
yeah, sorry about that. I'll need to change
You're probably
this.
sharing just um the Chrome.
Yeah, yep. Let me just close another one. And this one. There you go.
Yeah, there you go.
So yeah, this is the full export. We have a lot of different items here, and yeah, I'm just now realizing I showed the Excel before, but you guys probably didn't saw that, right? But that's no worries
Yeah,
at all.
I think, and you showed you were exporting, but just some of those items, I think 4 or 5,
Yeah,
and
yeah,
it's good
yeah.
to see the full list there. So as you can see, there you
Uh-huh.
have all of the categories, what's like structural frame, what's cladding.
Mm-hmm.
And one thing that I like to do personally, I just I like to select the whole thing, like Control A there, and just like format as a table on the top and the middle. Um, yep, that format as a table. Just didn't work. Yeah, click on the
It,
format.
it,
Ah, there we go. So, and now we can kind of go on those items or category or group, and you can click and just kind of tick the boxes of what you want to see. And this is a good way to actually inspect data. So as Rafael is showing there.
it's loading up.
See, Shedmate didn't break, but Excel did.
Yeah,
It's like, what?
see
It's
that?
loading there.
Good news.
Yeah, good news.
Let me open that up just a second.
Remember the old days when there was no autosave and you spend the whole day working on AutoCAD or something, and then it breaks and then you have to redo like the last 5 hours of work. So
Yeah.
frustrating. It's good we have autosave now, so that doesn't happen. Yeah. So while he's loading back, Rafael, Renato, do you see, like, from your experience, like ordering sheds? Do you see this would be helpful? I know there are some things are different specifically for bracket sheds. For example, we have our bracket system, which is a step after the quoting BOM that actually cuts and punches the frames at the right location. But then we have other specific items that the bill of materials already gives what we need to order that shed. How do you see it? Would you use this in any different purpose? I just would like to see if you have anything else to comment based on your experience, or if
Yeah,
if we covered most of it already.
yeah. Firstly, I want to mention how powerful Shedmate is. Like, Rafael was presenting that, like, primary items. You can see the location of it, the quantity. You can do a really powerful formula to quantify them, and after that you can attach these to dimension, the way you want, and you can get a full list of all the items that you want. So this is really powerful, like the software is joining not just the list, but where you can find that item. So in ordering, I believe that the most dangerous part is to order something wrong, right? So,
Mm.
but we are quoting these before ordering, of course. So if you do a good quoting process, if you double check everything, that everything will be quantified correctly, like the ordering process will be really easy, really smooth, because everything will be integrated, you know. And the thing is, like, you will not order something that you didn't put in your quote, you know. So I believe that the chance of losing money, like ordering something that you don't need, or you just put less than you needed, as you quote this really correctly, really accurate, I believe that it will avoid a lot of mistakes, you know, in the ordering. And we have that ordering process that if you order something wrong, your client is waiting on the site for that bracket, and it will took like 2 more weeks, and the
It's a pain.
yeah, the guys who are erecting the shed will have to wait to, and it's a lot of headache, you know, that a Shedmate can help us to not feel this pain, you know. So
Yes.
it's really good to see how Shedmate is improving in the ordering system as well. And at the end, we can comment a little bit. Rafael is working on an update on ordering system as well. So I believe that this is just the beginning of a thing that will be really even greater than this that we are showing today. So yeah, this is the importance of getting and watching these lives, so you will be the first ones to know about something new that we are developing. And Rafael is the lead developer, so he's not only developer things, but he manages our team members to do the features as well. So yeah, I really happy with the Shedmate progress on ordering, and it's now it's quite easier than it was in the past. So I believe that we will streamline a lot of the process that our clients are dealing. And yeah, and everything is involved, quoting and ordering. So we are combining the initial stages with the end stages of the project. So, and it's good because Shedmate's not like, we'll just use Shedmate in the middle of the process. No, you will use it to get more leads until the your client receive the ordering pieces that you did through Shedmate, you know. So yeah, I believe that this is my comment, and it's really good to know that we are progressing on ordering.
Yeah, awesome. Yeah, thanks for commenting, Renato. I'll show a few things here. Rafael shared with me the Excel file here. But yeah, as Renato was saying, I think one of the main things is because Shedmate unifies your like old Excel spreadsheet. So we have here all of the calculations, but it's linked to the 3D BIM model. This is massive. This is the pretty much the core of building information modeling, which give us the ability to actually see those problems before they actually happen. In an Excel spreadsheet, you don't have the visibility that you have here, and then it's easy to make mistakes. And that happened before, and had my shed business back then. We ordered the shed and we forgot installation, and actually we quote the shed without installation, but including installation for the customer. The customer agreed to pay the price, which included the installation, and there was an error there that did include that installation. That cost us, I think, $4,500 that we needed to, put from out of our pockets to actually pay for it, because that was the promise we gave to the customer. I didn't want to, follow on that promise. But here you have that, visibility. You can see that, what you actually quantify, it's coming from those specific items. And this reduces a lot of those mistakes, and comes back to what I mentioned. Shed says profitably. We have a lot of tools in Shedmate that help you sell more. such as the 3D Online Designer, the share links. We covered this on previous episodes. The ability to quote in real time with customer, the ability to draft a site plan and give to the customer in the first meeting for architectural plan. So there's so much of resources you can use to actually provide more value to the customer and sell more, but also fine tune what you actually quoting and what you're ordering in a visual way as we have here gives you that visibility that reduces the errors. And when you start reducing those errors, you might gonna see that maybe your Excel spreadsheet right now might be already, creating issues. And that's very common. That's very common. So when customers, they start, matching Shedmate with the Excel spreadsheet, sometimes they're like, hey, something's not matching here. And that happened with me as well. I was doing this in a company and like, look, that doesn't match. So there is something in Shedmate that's wrong. And then we just eventually realized that there was actually the Excel spreadsheet that was wrong all of this time. And we didn't know. And the only way to see this is because, okay, we have a specific formula, for example, for trim deck, iron cladding. And when you click here, we can see everything that's being quantified. And then when you compare that to the Excel, it's like, Excel wasn't considering this specific case for that shed. And the variability is so high that's very hard for an Excel spreadsheet to be precise as Shedmate is. Because you might have openings, I might have a sliding door that's going to break the cladding. And how do you actually quantify all of those little bits and pieces in an Excel spreadsheet? It's hard. You eventually just put like margins and you put like a ballpark figure that is going to cover for it. But Shedmate is extremely precise in this. And then when you unify that precision with that ability that we're discussing here to see where every single one of those items are, we go another level in that precision and quality. So as you can see here for trim deck, we have all of the end wall claddings and we have some side wall claddings as well. You can see exactly each one of those. And now we could export this quoting BOM. So as Rafael did there, I can just say, yep, I want to export this to Excel. And let me save this anyway there. And let me open this. I had another one opened. The one I just downloaded is opening now. And there you go. So in here's what I was referring, Rafael, that I like to do personally. You don't have to do it, but it's just what I like to do. I go Control Shift side down. So I select the whole thing and I format this as a table. I think this will do. My table has headers. That's okay. And now I can come here and say, look, I don't want to look at all of the groups. I just want to look at what's included in shared materials. And then from here I can say, look, I want to have a look just on like claddings. And then Shedmate is giving me that specific information here. I could actually come here and say, look, now instead of claddings, I want to have a look on like doors. And if you can refer to what I mentioned before about the brackets, the ordering system and the bracket system, when you have like brackets, that Shedmate, we have the cut and the punching. So your actually final order is going to be a little different from the frames here. However, there are many items that won't change in the bracket system. So examples are like doors. Let's see what else. Claddings, probably we're not having much change there. We might have gutters, we might have floors, we might have, pipes, and many of those items, we have here the itemized information that could be used pretty much to actually, put this out there and even order some of those materials if you want from here. We highly recommend ordering directly from the ordering system, which is, better to that purpose, but we're showing here what's possible if you want to, start ordering things even before going to the ordering system. The ordering system only works on jobs. So if you try to do this on a draft, it won't work. But when you open the jobs, then you have the bracket system, which is gonna cut and punch. We have the fabrication frames. And then when you go to the ordering system, we have a bill of materials here that we can move from the left to the right to the orders. And this is the next step in our future development. So Rafael is working on it. We're gonna have the ability to bring to the bill of materials here the items that you actually quantified in a custom way from the ordering bill of materials. And they're all going to come here, and you can use that on the ordering system to export your Excel files directly to the suppliers you want. So that's going to be the next step. That's going to give you a lot of leverage. But I think that what we already have here, it's good enough for many of the purposes that some of our customers had challenges with. Okay. Yep, I think this is it I wanted to show and discuss. Unless we have any other specific questions, I think I covered most of the questions I had. They were related to, rounding. They're related to this, ability to do those custom bill of materials calculations. And yeah, Rafael, Renato, do you have anything else so we can, wrap up for today? Let me know.
I think it's all good. I just want to say that the way that we approach new features in Shedmate is to develop a base of the technology that will bring value to the customers. But then we'd like to iterate and evolve the feature based on your feedbacks. So we would like for everyone to test this new feature, give it a try, see what you like, what you don't like, and then let us know. Send an email to support@shedmate.com.au, talk to Renato, and we will improve this feature even more and make it more valuable for you guys. That's it.
Awesome. Renato, do you have anything else to mention, or can I close here?
Yeah, it's all good. I believe that it was well explained. So yeah, same thing. If you need anything from us, just send an email, and we will be directly to the right person and to solve things faster as we can. And yeah, I believe that the feedback is really important, so we can go to the same direction, to the right direction. So yeah, basically it's this. And thanks for joining.
Awesome, awesome. I was just finalize here with some comments I generally hear from some people in organizations when setting up. One of them is like, Artur, what if we have different rules for different suppliers? You can do exactly what we just did on the bill of materials, but just save that as a different costing database. And you can save that as a different costing database for specific suppliers if you want. So every company will have a different level of complexity in how they do things. And Shedmate is flexible enough that there are many avenues to actually reach the final outcome. So if you have any specific questions about your existing setup, reach out to the customer support team. We have these guys here who develop the system. They might, know a better way to do what you're actually trying to do. And there are many different ways to do the same thing in Shedmate, the different calculations. As Rafael showed here, we could use a formula. We could just duplicate kind of a specific rule within the pricing calculation. So that's one thing. The other thing is sometimes I have an objection saying, hey, I'm already adjusting things manually and it's fine. And what I bring to you here is like, if you want to double shed sales profitably, it's fine to do things manually until you're sick or you leave or you go to Bali on holidays, and then who else is going to do that? So this is what I bring to owners sometimes. Like, hey, one of our goals here is to move you from the operator to the owner of your business. And if you're doing all of this, if quoting depends on one person, if you don't have a system that anyone in the business could actually use, if it's only dependent on you, who generally we have one person who is the only person who understands about how the Excel spreadsheet works, you have a risk, because if anything happens, if you're away, then that stops. And then when you come back, you have this workload waiting to be processed because you are the only one who understands. So this system also reduces the dependency on specific employees, which we know it's hard to hire and train in remote areas where most of the shared businesses are located. And that was actually one of the fundamental reasons for why we created Shedmate in the first place. We just couldn't find qualified people. Honestly, we were just trying, but we couldn't find in the region. And in Shedmate, I was created as a way to automate some of those things, so the businesses could still run without that reliance on a specific professional that was not available in their remote locations. So this is something else in terms of that business mindset is transforming your operations and moving from operation to ownership, so you can focus on growing your business. And if for any reason you find it was a little bit anything that we discussed here was maybe too complex for you, once again, book the one-to-one meetings with the team, and the team is going to be able to instruct you, because every company is different. So it's a little bit even hard for us to show you examples here, because we have customers ranging from small carports all the way to $1 million sheds for the mining industry. So the variability is enormous. But what I need to say here is, like, once you set up this for the item, that's it. It's a one-time configuration that you need to do on your costing database, and once set up, it's automatic for every project you do. So it's worth investing the time. It's worth bringing that intelligence you built in 20 years from your Excel spreadsheet and bring into a system that's scalable and anyone can manage even in your absence. So you can use that time to grow your business, spend time with family, or whatever you want to do with it. And that's it. I hope this was valuable for you, that could clarify some of the questions some of our customers had this week. And once again, if you have any additional question after this, leave on the comments below or reach out to support@shedmate.com.au, and you're gonna talk to you on how to fix those. That's it. I hope everyone had a great time, and thanks Rafael for joining us here the first time on our Shedmate Q&A. Thanks Renato for hosting once again, and I'll see you next week.
Thanks everyone. Bye bye.
Bye bye.
Bye bye.
Cheers.